Hey YouTube, I'm going to give you guys a quick unboxing video of one of Canon's EF 135mm F2L USM lenses. I had just recently acquired this lens. Actually, I just purchased it and it costs about 1,200 bucks Canadian or about 1,100 US. And can be pretty much purchased from any fine Canon equipment dealer. So this lens is specifically an EF mount. Canon's Pro Series non-weather sealed lens, and apparently this lens is infamous for being one of the best lenses to produce the nicest bokeh known to man from Canon. And so basically I'm just going to show you guys what sort of comes with this lens, as well as show you guys some photo samples of what its capabilities are. So inside here we've got our typical Canon documentation now that's loaded onto a CD-ROM, warranty card inside here, and then on the top we've got this nifty lens pouch that comes with almost every Canon L lens that you can buy. It's a nice little sort of a padded, not really a padded pouch, but a suede sort of like fabric pouch you can store your lenses in to prevent them from getting bumped around your camera bag. Well packed with plenty of styrofoam. We've got an included lens hood. And this lens hood specifically is the non-pedal hood Canon ET78 Mark II with the flocked felt liner on the inside to avoid reflections from the semi-matted plastic. And then last but not least, inside the box, we've got the 135 F2L series lens. So this lens here is manufactured in 2013, and you can tell it's got Canon's new awesome lens cap. It's a much improved lens cap over the older designs from yesteryear. It allows you to open it from the center point or from the edge, sort of like how Nikon originally designed their lens caps. And just look at that glass here. It's just nothing but pure awesomeness when you look at the size of this lens. And of course it's got the infamous L series red ring. And on the back we've got our electrical contacts and another gigantic, wickedly beautiful rear element. This lens is a f2 lens max aperture prime, so it's not a zoom lens and generally not typically used as a walk around lens, but used more in the portrait environment. As far as build quality goes, really good. You got a really nice ring USM autofocusing system built into the lens that's super fast and precise, with this nice fat rubber ring for manual focusing or for manual focusing override, and you don't have to flip any switches to bypass the camera's AF system. It's got a 72mm filter thread, so they're quite common and relatively inexpensive to buy. The lens construction itself is actually a plastic lens threads, composite body, which really means a fancy name for Canon's version of high quality plastic, as well as a metal lens mount using the EF mount, not EFS. But it will work on your 1/6 times crop body sensors just fine. It'll just be quite long at 216mm. It uses a 8-blade aperture design, and it's got about a 15-degree angle of view, and it's got a minimum focusing distance of about 3 feet with 0.19x magnification. The lens is well, it's not too heavy actually. It's about 750 grams, and as far as the size goes, it's actually comparable to a 24-105 f4L zoom lens that I've got here as well. So the size is almost identical, 750 grams. It's nice and black, I guess it doesn't stand out like a sore thumb like some of Canon's sort of professional white series zoom lenses. I know it's really cool to have a white zoom lens. I have one in the background there if you couldn't see, and I showed you the video demo of f4 versus f2, but sometimes I find that when I shoot with a white lens out in public, people get really antsy and paranoid because they've got this gigantic long white zoom lens pointed at them. And so this is really nice because it's nice and subtle, and people don't generally pay attention to a black lens versus something that sticks out like a 70-200 f2.8 Mark II in this example. So other little fine refinements that Canon sort of packed in with this 135 f2 is the fact that it's got the new designed lens cap. That mirrors that of what Nikon's been offering their customers for years. This is the old cap design. I really hated it because it was always slipped out of my hands. This new design has a bigger grip. It's a little bit thicker, of course, but it also allows you to remove the lens cap from the center like this. As far as those that are wondering, why would I buy a 135mm prime if I've got a 70-200 f4 LIS, or in my case, I actually own a 70-200 f2.8 Mark II as well. One thing I'll tell you guys is that weight is a consideration when I'm shooting pictures in a studio, when I'm doing portraits of my subjects, and I want to do headshots. It's a lot easier to carry a lens at 750 grams mounted to your already very heavy EOS 5D Mark III. So it's less fatiguing, and the fact that it's f2, so it gives you that sort of nice super shallow depth of field. And in fact, a 135 F2L is actually going to also complement my 85mm f1.8 lens that I use to shoot full-length portraits. People say, people ask me, is it worth the $1,100 to $1,200 to purchase this lens? Well, I think it really depends, because the 135mm lens is very application specific. It's definitely not a walk-around lens. It's definitely not a lens that you'd want to necessarily take on your travels, or even a lens that I would recommend putting on a crop body unless you have a lot of room. The key thing here is that it's f2, and it allows you a full stop of extra light over an f2.8 lens. And if you're actually shooting in an indoor event like a ballet performance, indoor speed skating, a sporting event, where additional light can't be added, or using a flash is not permitted or not practical, as in a church wedding, for example, this is where an f2 will be a lifesaver, because you're going to be able to get those super tack sharp images, that beautiful shallow depth of field, as well as that extra stop of light to save you. And to also give you that beautiful contrasty, creamy background that my other lenses just simply can't replicate the same way. Now, unfortunately, I don't currently have any, great photographic examples of background blur, but I will post them at the end of this video in conjunction with the video demo of the Precious Moments figurine that I had shot, or that I will be shooting, to show you guys what the differences are between my walk-around zoom versus my 135mm f2L. Alright guys, so to give you a sense of what an f2 lens would look like in comparison to a f4 lens, what I've got mounted on my camera right now is a 70-200 f4 LIS lens that's positioned, it's set to 135mm at f4, just using some ambient lighting. Focused on this little Precious Moments figurine. So as you can see here at f4, you can still see, sort of my office chair in the background, as well as the texturing on the chair, as well as the light in the background. And for the most part, this f4 LIS zoom lens is quite practical, in that I can adjust my zoom from 70 to 200 f4 fixed aperture. But what I found that when I'm shooting indoor events, that despite the versatility of this zoom lens, it doesn't quite cut it if I'm shooting indoor events like a ballet performance, indoor skating event, where there's just not enough ambient light, and the use of flash for either photography or video is just simply not feasible. This is particularly important if you're shooting an event like a wedding, where flash photography may not be permitted at all. But anyways, that being said, this is an example of what a 70-200 f4L looks like set at f4, and now we're going to show you the same exact image using the 135 f2L lens. Alright guys, this is the 135 f2L set at f2 with the same exact shot, with approximately with the exact distance from tripod to the figurine, which is probably about 6 feet or so. Now, I want to mention that on the 135 f2L, what makes it a remarkably good performing lens is the fact that it has a very short minimum focusing distance at about 3 feet, whereas say the very highly popular Canon 70-200 zoom lenses have a minimum focusing distance of about 4 feet, or about 1.2 meters. It's quite a stark contrast and difference in terms of minimum focusing distance. But as you can see here, I didn't move the office chair or the light in the background, and you can sort of pinpoint or at least see what the chair's pattern looks like. But I mean, you can clearly see that there is a difference between F4 and F2. Here's another shot of this precious moment figurine at the minimum focusing distance, and as you can clearly tell, you can sort of see that, you know, despite this very simpleton and probably non-scientific test, that the background blur here is quite nice, even though the background is not very busy. It's very evident that the chair and the light and the white walls behind it are very creamy, and the fact that the depth of field is so shallow that you can see like those nice fine subtle details within the figurines sort of curves and what have you. So in this video, it's probably not highlighting, you know, the best performance of this lens. So what I'm going to do at the end of the video is actually show you some actual real shots that I took of my kids and of people to give you a sense of what the shallow depth of field is like.